Depression-era bootleggers find themselves threatened by the law, and that's because the officers of the law want their cut of the profits. Hello to everyone watching, and thank you once again for tuning into RealScreenReviews.com. I am, of course, movie critic Nick Iacobucci, and our next movie review is Lawless. This crime drama will open in the dumping ground of the year, and that would be the end of August, specifically on the 31st. This is an early review. Lawless stars Shia LeBeouf, Tom Hardy, Gary Oldman, and Jessica Chastain, and comes to us from director John Hillcoat, the previous director of The Road and The Proposition from 2005. He now delivers us a time period drama with one of the finest casts assembled in quite a while. This tale tells the story that takes place during the era of Prohibition and a time when the manufacture and bootlegging of moonshine was big business. The story also revolves around three brothers and their rise to power within this violent enterprise. One of the brothers is ambitious and dreams about being a gangster, one is the intimidating muscle, and one sibling is patient and unshakable. Together they cover the entire basis for a solid criminal enterprise and seem like nothing can stop them. That is until Maggie comes into the picture and begins to shake the unshakable. Before too long, everything that has been built will be teetering on destruction, and will this deteriorate into brother versus brother? Well, people, just like the Duke boys of Hazard County, these bootleggers are definitely the heroes of the story, and the police are definitely the bad guys or the villains. I really did admire the role reversal, and in this film, the heroes or protagonists seem to take as much pain as they inflict. Then you have Guy Pearce and his special agent rakes that is even more violent than the men that he is sworn to bring to justice. And even though his appearance is kind of funny looking, I can say with certainty that no one would ever make fun of this man to his face. Gary Oldman is also stand out as Floyd Banner. He once again brings over-the-top charisma to his role, and the only thing to dislike about his performance was how short it was. Now, this takes me to the leads in the film, and I personally could have used much more Tom Hardy and much less Shia LaBeouf. However, I would be lying if I didn't say that Shia is strong and solid in his portrayal, and he more than stands toe-to-toe with every other big name in this cast. Tom Hardy once again rules every minute of screen time that he has, and I wonder how this man went from "who the hell is this guy" to major Hollywood player in just under a year's time. Lawless was overseen by director John Hillcoat, and even though this movie is very violent in many spots throughout the feature, this is without question 100 times more lighthearted than The Road. The Road was a well-made film, but I can't recall a more depressing 2 hours in my entire life. Here he manages to infuse much humor into the film, especially the family discussions between the brothers. Some of them were just great. He does direct the actors to decent performances, but I felt that the core of his direction was lost in the film's locations and set design. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of grief for this name, but it's French and I don't speak French, so I'm going to do my best here. Benoit Delhomme, as director of photography, works very well with Hillcoat and creates almost a rich brown pigment that surrounds the epic shots in the film. Now, just about every photo that I can recall from the Old West, going back to the pictures of my grandparents in the 1940s, well, they all seem to have that familiar sepia tone to them. Now, what the cinematographer has accomplished was to expertly translate that tone into the finished product of this feature. He also does his best to contrast the feel of the movie when he brings the cameras over to record the outside and exterior shots. He gives us these greens and blues in their most detailed or as crisp as possible, and this was a real treat for the viewer. Also, it is rare that costumes stand out to me as a true positive in the film, but Margot Wilson's vision of how to dress the performers added to the authentic look and feel of Lawless. Now, this isn't the most original of ideas, and I would say that I have seen this film at least 2 or 3 times before in the form of The Untouchables, Miller's Crossing, and even taking it all the way back to 1931's Public Enemy with James Cagney. Also, the people that live within this story aren't exactly new or fresh either. Screenwriter Nick Cave did not exactly impress me with his work in the overrated Proposition, and he failed to impress me here as well. Some of the lines that are spoken are completely dry and bland, and some parts of the dialogue are simply first-grade basic. After doing no more than a Google search, I also found numerous holes and flaws in the story and in the script. At just shy of 2 hours, Lawless was definitely a tad too long for me and could have been trimmed by a good 15 minutes. I cannot stress enough the solid credibility of the actors that are easily the film's best asset, but even these qualities fall into the shortcomings of the movie's uneven script. I did like this movie, but this is one of those films where the more I thought about it and the more I spoke about it, the more things that I found wrong with it. I can say that years from now, this will not be mentioned in the same sentence as the great Bonnie and Clyde, but for someone looking for a good old-fashioned ass-kicking of a time, this might be the ticket for you. Once again, not great, not bad, but this does get enough technically correct for me to at least recommend it. Nick's real screen review is a mild but still recommended 2.5 stars out of 4. And remember, people, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies, and thank you for your attention.